Episode 36. 2 reasons you should stop trying to find out which type of potato you are.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
So be honest, boys and girls, how bloody was your weekend killing them bad habits? I welcome you back to an entirely new week, which is going to be totally exciting. Last week, on Friday, I gave a speech, actually after I published the episode at my first remote conference, which was totally interesting, simply because supposedly there were going to be thousands of people there. In the room were a few, to be very diplomatic. And we were using, I don't know, some kind of software that I had already installed on my computer. And my screen name was Sexy McFlash. And I was being called an ignorant jerk, I think, for having my name like that. So my weekend was good. How about yours? It's been interesting to get the feedback over the weekend for the bad habit massacres that were going on. And most of them were positive. One was, I don't know what it was. It was interesting too, I think, to be very diplomatic. But didn't really lead anywhere. So I hope you were all very successful. Those of you who haven't written. What else on the to-do list? Yeah, right. This week, actually, is going to be the last week before the very best podcast in the world gets rated on Apple Podcasts. So if you haven't already, and if you've got 5 seconds of time, go to your podcast thingamajigger, scroll all the way to the bottom, click the 5 stars thing, or the 1 star if you think the show is shitty, but you wouldn't be here if that were the case. And if you don't have 5 seconds, but 5 minutes perhaps, then go ahead and write a brief kick-ass review about how great the show is, and so on and so forth. The reason I'm asking this favor is simply because with every rating and with every other piece of love that the podcast gets, the chances are higher that we're going to end up in the, I think, new and trending is what it's called. So Apple's secret podcast algorithm has been hacked. I don't know. I read that shit somewhere. And it appears that it's from my side, the continuity that counts most, in that we do our show daily, which we have been doing. And yeah, we've been pretty good at it. And from your side, it needs to be click love and type love, which will indicate to the super secret Apple algorithm that the podcast is, what was it? I forgot, new, upworthy, whatever. So, that being said, go, pause the show, go down, click the 5 stars. And if you've got another 5 minutes to pause the show, then write a brief review. If you're a quick typer, do it in 2. If you're even quicker than that, do it in 1 minute. Long story short, let's get down to the 2 reasons why you should stop trying to find out which type of potato you are. There we go. Now, you're probably thinking, justifiably so, that I have been taking severe drugs. And had you told me about this, what I saw, what I witnessed, 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said, yeah, right. Whatever was there, I took, mushrooms, pills, coke, pep, whatever it is. Yeah. But I actually ran across a game on one of the major social platforms, which let you test what type of potato you are. Not exactly that, but it was similarly, I don't know, stupid. And I saw and I really looked at the amount of subscribers and the people playing and the statistics, those that I could get my hands on, and I was like, why in the fuck are tens of thousands of people playing this or taking part in this utter bullshit? While the world needs saving, seriously. I mean, the world is in serious disarray right now. Not economically. We're looking at one of the worst depressions economically that are going to happen. There are thousands and millions and probably close to a billion people either depressed and or otherwise severely mentally affected by this crisis and the lockdown and all of the other good shit that's going on. And you're trying to figure out what type of potato you are. So let me just get to the two reasons because they are rather short. Number one, there's a high likelihood, a high probability you are human and not a potato. All right. Now that we have got that out of the way, just for obvious reasons, let's get down to time management, really, and what you can do with your time. Now, to a degree, I am a highly functioning savant. I run this podcast. I do. I have still, while I'm mainly retired, run a company for information security. I don't know, all the shit that I'm doing, really. It's just like getting up in the morning, getting shit done, falling to sleep at night. And in between, a lot of magic happens. And yes, I plead guilty to wasting time while being on Facebook and all of the other social media outfits. But for me, there's a reason, really, and it's about really promoting the show, making it heard, spreading the good news, and that kind of bit, rather than actually sitting down and doing some bullshit comparison game about whatever, and that's really, is it a rant? Is it justified? If you have the time, by God, but be mindful about this very, very, very limited asset that you have at your disposal. Your lifetime is limited. Let that sink in, and at the end of the day, you're going to get to the conclusion that, fuck, how many hours a day have I spent looking at the screen, ignoring the outside world? The other day I mentioned that the mindfulness aspect in your life is not to be neglected, because taking the world in with all of your senses and a bit of calm in your life is just, I don't know, like dropping acid and taking in the world, just not as distorted. And that's really an insanely important thing to really learn, to observe through smell, to observe not only through your visual sense, but to really get an entire picture of the present moment, totally phasing out the future and the past and being in the now. And this is such a fucking great point to get to in your life. It's like I'm feeling a bit like Edgar Tolle, but without, but with a ranting bit in it. But I think my approach really is the same. It's about, accepting the blessing that you're alive, that you're healthy, that you're, most likely to a degree wealthy because you're listening to this show on a device that's cost a significant amount of money, and all of the other good stuff that's happening to you. And just take a moment and sit down and let that sink in, because it's really, really, really something different than running through your life like I have in the past, and everything kind of whisks by you. It was the other year, I don't know, about 2 years ago, pretty much exactly 2 years ago. I gave a speech in the Far East at a conference, and for the longest time, I hadn't been to Dubai International Airport. And well, I hadn't really ever been there because it was like I got out of the plane, got onto my scooter, got into the first class lounge, work, had the waiter bring me drinks, most of them non-alcoholic, some of them alcoholic, but I was just chugging away at work always, didn't really recognize anything. Then, it was this amazing, really luxurious experience. Even going through Dubai when I was there for meetings was like, I didn't notice anything. So this, like 2 years ago, going back there was like a wow moment because I had the time to really appreciate not only the amount of service that you're getting from the people there. It's not like in Europe where if you're a customer, it's like, go fuck yourself, customer. No, they really take care of you, and they really, in the frame of their guidelines, of course, really try to make things happen. And the pristine airport that this thing is just amazing. And I've been through this thing, what? I don't know, probably a couple dozen times. And it was like, wow, the moment that this time being different in that I hadn't been there for, I was there 2 years ago in a totally different phase of my life, was like, wow, it's like that my antennas were out rather than being, in the wind and kind of, I don't know, strapped to my back because otherwise they would fall off. Now they were out. Now I could really enjoy this experience. And it was just, I don't know, something entirely different. So I can only recommend, trying to find the present moment without trying to figure out what kind of potato you are, because again, you're not, you're human. More likely than not. I don't know how many potatoes are listening. If there are, write an email to the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com, or follow us on Twitter at bestpodcast T1. The name was too long. Sorry. So the Twitter handle is at bestpodcast T1, I think. Just look it up. And I think it's actually time to close. Go away from your screens. No, wait, I need to qualify that. If you're doing something meaningful, go to your screen. Do it, but try to distance yourself and cut yourself loose from being imprisoned by all of these social networks, battling for your attention, desperately trying to grab parts of your time, which inevitably, and for my concern, is way too valuable to waste it there. In that sense, enjoy your Monday, enjoy your week. I think we're going to close here. Comments, remarks, and everything else goes to the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com. Twitter is at bestpodcastt1 for some stupid reason. We're on Instagram as well. I have no fucking clue what our handle is there. And we're on Pinterest and pretty much everywhere. Send some love, please, to the podcast. And, give it a 5-star, give it a brief review, especially all of you people listening from Spain. There is a sudden increase from Spain. Don't know why that is. Let me know and personally introduce yourself in that sense. Have a good day. If you haven't already, if you have already, then have a good night. And I shall see you again tomorrow when we're going to talk about, I don't know yet. Let's see. Stay tuned. Peace out.